and welcome again to the Strange Brew podcast. My name's Jason Barnard. That was the Steve Howe Trio and Hiatus. I have the huge pleasure to welcome today the legendary guitarist Steve Howe of Yes, one of the most influential guitarists and songwriters of his generation. I'm here to talk about his new album with his trio and a range of songs from across his career, including Yes, of course. So let's hear my chat with Steve. Hi, is that Steve?
Yes, it is.
Hi, Steve. It's Jason Barnard here.
Yeah, hello, Jason. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
I'm good, thank you.
So one of the key reasons we're here today is to talk about your new album with the Steve Howe Trio, New Frontier.
Mm-hmm.
How does New Frontier compare with your previous Steve Howe Trio albums?
Right, well, way back in 2008, we recorded The Haunted Melody, and basically that was a selection of the kind of music that inspired us to get together in the first place, which was Jimmy Smith, Kenny Burrell, and some of my tunes, and, some outer tunes from Yes even. So we kind of saw ourselves as arrangers, take an idea, see how we do it, and keep it in that kind of jazzy, swingy sort of feel. But after all the touring and the live album traveling, we kind of felt that what we wanted to do was to show some development and growth for the band, and we thought we'd cut out any jazz standards and just keep it original music. So that's what we did. We compiled all these different tunes and we set about arranging and recording them. Basically, it's another way we can use the band, and use the talents within it, so that we don't kind of hark too much onto our, we love to admit that we love jazz, but there again, we want to play our own kind of music, and I think that's what this is. It's more of the trio's own kind of music now.
There's still a jazz element, but there's also sort of more proggy edge, tracks like Left to Chance. Yeah,
very much. I'm glad you spotted that. That's really kind of where we saw a branch, which was easy to step over to, is that kind of music that, it's hard to define what it is, but it has our own original writings in it.
On the album, there's some of your own tracks like Left to Chance, but you've also written with Ross and your son Dylan. How did the writing process compare in all those different scenarios?
Well, basically, I kind of threw out a conglomerate of ideas. I think there were 6 or 7 ideas that I said, well, can we work these out? Is this some starting places? And as we went through that course, then, Ross said, I got this thing going here. What do you think about this as an intro or what? So we started to kind of grow the music, so it wasn't just the way I originally. Well, it was never going to be the way I originally conceived it. I didn't want that, but it showed more opportunities for them to write as much as the other person you haven't mentioned yet.
Is that Bill?
Which is Bill Bruford. Basically, Bill gave me some tunes years and years ago, and they gathered a bit of dust. But in this writing period with the trio, I played a couple of these tunes to the guys, and they said, "Oh wow, this is great. Let's arrange this." So again, we developed them, and I suppose I in particular, being one of the main single line players, kind of took those ideas on and developed them. To which Bill, wanted to share in the credit with me, because he felt, I'd kind of brought them back, into the frame by development.
So the tracks that you've done with Bill are older tracks. Does that include, material like Gilded Splinter?
Well, I mean, music in a way often gets buried. Some good stuff gets buried along the way. I don't think there was a way Bill and I could have done those tunes earlier than this, strangely enough, because I didn't have a vehicle, and Bill had kind of left them with me, and they just sort of sat there, and I'd doodled with them. But once the trio got hold of them, then we were able to bring the melodies into line with the other things we were doing. So that's how I'd explain that.
Which of the material from New Frontier are you most sort of pleased with in terms of the outcome?
That's a tough one for different reasons. You like the different tracks. I like the sort of happy approach of Fair Weather Friend, but the Changing Same was a development of that idea with Bill. But mainly the writing with the band helped me to explore what I didn't think of in the first place, which is those ingredients. So, I mean, it's really quite tough. I don't know I have a favourite all round. I guess I like Zodiac quite a lot, just because it has a little bit more of the Haunted Melody feel, so it's a little bit more, but the tune is for me, got the jazz styling in the chordal structure and also in the melody. So I like Zodiac.
So the Steve Howe Trio is a great way of taking sort of one element of your influences, that more jazz feel, and representing that today. Yeah,
but I think we didn't want to feel that we were limited to stay hard-lined into this jazz thing, because although, having a name like Trio obviously does imply what is very honestly the Haunted Melodies plot. I think now we're a trio of a different ilk, because we've kind of moved across into the prog and the rock kind of thing quite comfortably without losing the roots of the soul of the band.
But across your career, there's different influences on your guitar playing that have come out, including a song like Clap. That was that Chet Atkins who was a formative influence on you?
That's right. Chet was a huge influence, because at the time when I was getting into all the guitar instrumentals and the great guitarists that preceded us, particularly the Charlie Christian era, sort of like post Charlie Christian, the Kenny Burrells and Tal Farlows. But basically, Chet's influence was very, very strong. But what it's allowed me to do, and I think partly through my solo guitar performances and solo guitar tunes, that I kind of like stretched out really what music I could attempt to resolve quite nicely with these influences that I've had so strong. I mean, I saw Wes Montgomery when I was 16 or 17. So basically, I saw him in person, and that was really commanding for me to see somebody who was so happy. He was a very happy performer. He smiled a lot and basically blistered on the guitar. So, and Albert Lee, and endless other guitarists, yes. Steve Morse, I could go on, Martin Taylor. I can almost not not stop mentioning more guitarists who pushed me on that little bit further when I've heard them and thought, wow, okay, I can do something like this, or I've taken something from them just in their enthusiasm. And I think that's the same. I saw the Foo Fighters last night at Reading. I mean, that band, they really put the energy in. And I think there's different ways of doing that. When I thought about, if you watch Yes and you watch Foo Fighters, it's a completely different world. But I'm proud of what Yes do and the way that we play, the sort of discipline and the frameworks we're in. But a band like Foo Fighters is great fun, and it's great to see their energy. So I think the influences I took from, the British guitarist Mick Green and also Brian Griffiths, and particularly Albert Lee, was, before he really went country, was that there is a British style of guitar, and I'm going to follow that. I'm going to be part of that. And Brian May, Eric Clapton, we could go on all day. And we have a wealth of guitar inspirers in this country, and I'm very proud to be even a small part of that.
In recent years, I've spoken to Twink and Mark Wirtz, and obviously one of the bands that you were in prior to Yes was Tomorrow.
Yes.
I've read that Roger McGinn was an influence on you. Is that something you would agree with?
Well, yeah, particularly Keith and I. Well, I mean, I think Twink as well. By the time we were at Tomorrow, the Byrds were one of the most admired bands that there was around at that time from America. I mean, you had Buffalo Springfield, you had, and Crosby, Stills and Nash were coming, but in a way, the Byrds had such a sound, the 12-string, the Roger McGuinn thing, and Tomorrow did play Why, which was just a simple song that we took from them, but we did admire them, and we would have liked to have emulated them, but we had a different experience when, although, as you say, Mark was our producer, we just didn't get that album finished in 1967. And, it should have come out. But of course, My White Bicycle made enough of was noticed enough to help the band be what it was, which is a great opening act for Floyd and Jimi Hendrix and Vanilla Fudge or The Move or Traffic even. We played with all the great bands of the time, and we loved being there. But obviously, if we'd had that album out and we'd maybe had more of that material, like Revolution and My White Bicycle, it would have been even better.
Disgrace shines no light upon my face. Through the darkness we still see my white bicycle and me. My white bicycle. My white bicycle. Policeman shouts, but I don't see it.
A few years later you joined Yes, and it seemed that certainly when you joined for the Yes album, that was a time when everyone was throwing ideas in rather than writing solo.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I think we'd all been learning the craft of writing with other people and increasing our strengths or through arrangement. and an enjoyment of music from sharing it with each other and being excited about hearing something, from John or Chris, and going, oh wow, let's play that. How are we going to play that? And it was a terrific learning curve, and most probably, out of my experience in the 60s, which was quite a lot of stuff, but once I got to the Yes album, I kind of really got on an adventure, partly of having a new guitar and playing it, or buying, not necessarily newly made, but each album featured for a while a different guitar. Like Relaya had the Telecaster, and the Yes album was the 175, which is really my classic guitar that I've never stopped playing. And it came out on, it's used on all the albums I make, because there are times when that's the only guitar I can play.
Yeah, and on that album, obviously, yours is No Disgrace, and there's that very famous guitar solo. It just seemed such an ambitious time for you and the group.
I like the way you say that. Yeah, that it was. I did used to remember Bill saying, "Oh, I wish I knew what you were going to overdub there. I would have played differently." But in fact, I didn't always know what I was going to overdub. But no, that solo has got all the makings of shape and arrangement and a bit of melody. There's enough melody to say, well, there's a melody, but often it isn't. Often it's improvisation. Other times it's the use of an effect, like the wah-wah. And basically that was a very colourful solo, not dissimilar to Siberian Couture in a way, where I start on the steel, I go to the guitar, and in a way I was developing those kind of guitar solos where they weren't fixed in one place. Here's a guitar break. Okay, he plays, and then it ends, and the song carries on. What I wanted was a guitar solo that started, went places, visited a few other stops that you weren't expecting to, and then ends. So I think that was a more complete, and it comes from the desire to arrange, but also the desire to arrange that I can improvise, and that's basically quite a good example is Yours No Disgrace, of course.
Shining, flying, up, move, I'll show me where you Yesterday a morning came, a smile upon your face. Caesar's palace, morning glory, silly human race. On a sailing ship to nowhere, leaving any place. If the summer changed to winter, yours is no disgrace. Yours is no disgrace. Yours is no disgrace.
then by the time of Fragile, do you feel your confidence as a writer had increased? Because obviously there's the song Roundabout that you did with John.
Yeah.
Were you kind of more confident given you'd had more time in the band?
Absolutely, yeah, because, I guess I started songwriting quite early on with the Syndicate. So the first B-side was written by Steve Howe and Tom Ladd, but I wasn't that confident, and I knew there was a craft to learn. And I think by the time Yes were an open book, that they were open to stuff. And basically Fragile ventured to be even more, I don't know what that word is, kind of the sound had to have something minimal about it, even though it was quite busy. So even though Chris was on Roundabout was playing furiously, somehow there was a calmness in that music which allowed his riff in the verses to be right. And then we got down to it. Roundabout has a nice getting down to it chorus, where it's kind of a bit more like grassroots rock than anything else. And we should have always, if you look at Tomato, there's very much less of that on Tomato, of that kind of, rock out, a bit like we did on South Side of the Sky, a bit like we did on other albums. But at that time we were really good at that, and obviously Bill being in the group was an absolute gem.
one of the albums that is many people's favourites is Close to the Edge, tracks like And You and I. And one of the elements, I think it was Eclipse of And You and I, featured pedal steel, and that's a guitar that keeps coming up across your career.
Well, yeah, thanks for mentioning it. I adore the steel. At that point, it was just like what we might call a Hawaiian steel or a lap steel. And it's only when I got to be over from Relaya that I actually ventured onto the pedal steels. It's more intricate and it's more for a melodic sound. It's great for chordal work as well. So, but from Fragile onwards, the way I was Close to the Edge onwards particularly, I started to introduce the steel guitar in a kind of, well, a very unusual sort of, it wasn't, but I was learning, and I played a little bit of steel in the 60s, but once I started collecting and I found the Fender steel that I like so much for its bright, clear, sparkly sound, then that's what started to appear, as it does on, as you say, on A New and I. And that developed quite a lot on stage, but also on Couture in those kind of moments where I could do that. And so, I'm happily always, when somebody says, oh, if you've got a steel idea, or what about if you play that on a steel? I'm there. I mean, often I think, oh, I'll play that on the steel enough times. But, I've got tracks like The Collector from my album, Quantum Guitar, which is besides the rhythm guitar, is all steel. So, and pedal steel. So basically, I love steels. It started with Speedy West, who was steel guitarist with, in his own right, back in the 50s with Jimmy Bryant on guitar. And basically they were the super hot pickers on a lot of Tennessee Ernie Williams hillbilly kind of music. But then, I discovered that this influence, even got to Bill Haley. I guess I heard steels really a lot when you heard Bill Haley. He had a guy who just kind of went every now and again, but it was so dynamic. I thought I want to have that dynamism. But what I've always been doing is, like, for instance, my 175, I don't do a lot of bending and I don't go crazy on it really. I play the guitar. I'm a guitarist. But I had these other things that you can only do on steels, or whether it's a Portuguese guitar or, acoustics, like this. When you want a Spanish, you have to play a Spanish, because otherwise you haven't got that emotive, sort of almost desperately melancholy sound. So I like the guitar family as an array of textures. I don't play the mandolin much, but I do love playing bass, even though I often, get other people to play bass as well, because I think that's really, really great. So moving across the family of guitars is would sum me up. If somebody said that's what Steve did, I think I'd be happy with that description.
Okay.
Flowers daily sensing all the things Sad preacher nailed upon the colored door of time. Insane teacher, be there reminded of the rhyme. There'll be no mutant enemy we shall certify. Political ends, our sad remains will die. Reach out as forward taste begin to enter you. I listened hard but could not see. Light tempo change out and inside me. The preacher training on to lose his name. The teacher travels asking to be shown the same. In the end we'll agree, we'll accept, we'll immortalize that the truth of the man maturing in his eyes. All complete in the sight of seeds of light with you. Coming quick into terms of all expression made. As the moment you gained and regarded both the same. Emotionally filled as the ocean made. A clearer future, morning, evening, nights with you. And you and I clear crossing the shapes of the morning. And you and I reach over the sun for the river. And you and I glide clearer towards the movement. And you and I gold over valleys of endless seas.
You mentioned the range of guitars that you've played, and one of the most famous guitar solos that you did was with Queen on Innuendo, and that amazing flamenco guitar solo. How did you get involved on that?
Yeah. I love talking about this. I was in a cafe in Montreux. I'd been working with my friend Paul Sutin in Geneva, and I think I'd driven down, and I was in a cafe. A guy went by, and he looks at me and goes, "Steve," he comes in and goes, "Oh, we're just down the road, you're at the studio." Of course, I knew the studio. It's where we made Going for the One. And so I said, "The guy's in the studio." "Oh, great, come in." By the time I got there, they'd schemed up something. So they go, "Oh, hi, Steve, sit down. Freddie was great, and Brian and Dave Richards, the engineer at the time." So basically we're sitting there, and they said, "Well, look, we want to play you the album." I said, "Well, look, I've got time, play me the album." But they saved Innuendo till the end. So they played Innuendo, and when it finished, they said, that middle bit was, what Brian was doing. I said, "Yeah, lovely, lovely, lovely." They said, "Well, we want you to play on that." I was like, "Well, you don't need anything else." I said, "It's there." They said, No. What we hear is a bit of Paco de Lucia. I said, well, look, I'm the wrong guy. I can't I'm not Paco de Lucia. They said, yeah, but you can go there. You can improvise. So basically that's what happened. They set me up to sort of just improvise across this beautiful structure that Brian May had played. But what happened was they turned and there were 3 guitars called Gibson Chet Atkins models. And they're Spanish guitar, the first ever solid body Spanish guitar. So they have a very unique sound. It's kind of nicely plonky. It's not like your classical sound, but wow, it's great for playing single lines off. So they said, choose one of those, plug you in, and off you go, So we did a few takes and we didn't really know what was there. Freddie said, let's go to dinner. We go to dinner. He says, don't go to Mexico. They threw bottles at us and, it's not worth. I said, really? I haven't been there yet. So we come back from dinner and he says, well, let's comp this. So basically we listened to, 2 or 3 takes and just created the best version of those bits. So I left really on and up, this was great, playing with Queen and giving me a break. This was fantastic. So, when it came out, I got a thank you letter and a credit and I was in heaven. It's great.
While the waves crash in the sea